Blessed be your name in a land that is plentiful, where streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name when found in the desert place, though I walk through the wilderness. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name, a road marked with suffering, with his pain in the offering. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. In a dry and weary land where is no water, my soul is thirsting for you. I have seen you in the sanctuary, beheld your power and glory. My lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live. In your name I will lift up my hands. Your love is better than life. Your love is better than life. Earnestly I seek you. My soul is thirsting for you, 'cause your love is better than life. Your love is better than life. Your love is better than life. Earnestly I seek you. My soul is thirsting for you, 'cause your love is better than life. Your love is better than life.
Should be good. Can you hear me? Yeah.
We're going to Africa today.
Are we taking our Harleys?
Stay tuned. You taking your Harley? Yeah. We're talking about African missions, how you can get involved with it. And we're going to look at some mission work that's been done spreading the gospel even during the pandemic. Roll the footage, baby. Oh, that's me.
Unscripted.
This is the Unscripted Podcast. All right, what's happening, everybody? We got Noel Stafford here with us today.
Hey, guys.
We're going to be talking about missions in, how do you say that word?
Kilimanjaro, Tanzania.
It sounds more like a
like killing men.
yeah, like a murder thing. You know, like premeditated murder. Or,
Kilimanjaro.
right.
Kilimanjaro is the roof of Africa.
The roof of Africa.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for being on with us today.
We want to hear about the floor, so that's what we want to hear about is the floor.
Yep. So Noel has agreed to be on here with us and to go through to suffer. He's in the hot seat between me and Chris, and
He didn't know what he's got into. We have told him so many lies before this, Bob. We told him we're going to ask him all these really pointed questions, but we just got a bunch of crazy stuff we're going to ask you now, make you feel real uncomfortable.
Yep. And we got a new camera that makes Chris look a lot better.
Yes.
Look how good you look.
I know you can see the gray in my beard. You know it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up with that?
Yeah, so we're making upgrades, and Noel, you definitely are an upgrade for us, and we're glad that you're on today. And so Noel and his wife are fixing to be, what are y'all fixing to do?
Well, currently we are starting to go around, hopefully all of America, to fundraise for our plans to move to Tanzania, East Africa.
So you guys are moving to Tanzania.
Yes, it's been something I've been wanting to do since I was a teenager and lived there as a kid. Both me and my wife are both missionary kids, and so
Well, tell
it's
us
in our
about
blood.
Tell us about living there as a kid then.
Oh, I have two brothers, and we loved it every minute. First day there, we didn't want to come back, and ever since we got back, I've
So
been
how
trying
did
to
you
get
get there
back
as a
over
kid? Did somebody ship you over there? Like, we don't want this redheaded kid. We're going to send him over there. And
Well, in late 90, early 91, a man by the name of Andrew Connolly came to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where we're at today.
whoop whoop.
And he talked about where he worked, Chamala, which is in Tanzania, a different part of where we're going to be. But 6 months later, I lived in Africa.
That's
Whatever
unscripted.
he said in that lesson or when he talked about it, it really touched my dad, and something he really been wanting to do anyways about spreading the gospel. And so literally 6 months after he heard about it, we were in Tanzania.
What did you say, Chris? You said that was unscripted?
Yeah, that was about as unscripted as it comes.
And yeah, so who's your dad?
Cy Stafford, and my mom's Stephanie Stafford. And
Was.
yes, Cy.
She's
passed.
Stephanie Rake now.
Wow, yeah. It still doesn't register when I hear it.
It will when her Social Security check starts coming.
Yeah.
But no.
So y'all go to Africa, and what did y'all do? So tell us about the legacy. You know, you're going back over there and kind of continuing what your daddy started working on over there.
We were there from 91 to 94. Where we were at, there was a hospital there. Mm-hmm. That was how they got into Tanzania.
What do you mean? So they started a hospital?
Yeah, they started a hospital. That was how they got the church into Tanzania back then. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what year that was. But a long time ago, that's what Andrew Connolly did. But when we lived in Tanzania in the mid-90s or early 90s, my dad and Andrew Connolly had several conversations about what Andrew thought he wished that he would have done different. And so
Andrew told Cy, your daddy, I wish I'd have done these things differently.
Right. And
looking backwards.
Yeah, and then while we were there, Andrew he actually passed away while we were living in Tanzania. And so when we moved back from Tanzania, my dad, he hit the floor rolling. He went to preacher school. He wanted to do everything right. And so while he was going to preacher school in Texas, we lived in Dallas at the time, he started planning to do his work in Arusha, Tanzania, and Moshi, which is where we're going to live. And that started in the late 90s when he moved over there.
So when you guys came back, Si's preaching school, and he's raising funds, right?
Right.
With the plans to return, right?
Right.
So when he heads back, what happens then?
Well, he gets over there and gets busy. I mean, in the time that he was there, they started congregations, started a preacher school, started 2 different Bible schools, one in Arusha, one in Moshi. All of those have been there for close to 20 years now. And
Wow.
so they're still going.
So you're getting into your second generation of Christians that are coming out of these
Yes,
schools
sir.
now. Then,
one of his ultimate goals was to work himself out of a job, and so to have leadership for churches to be self-sufficient. And so some of that, a little bit of it, especially in the more established churches from the beginning, there's a few, not many yet, but a few churches that have leadership, have elders. So
yeah, that's inherently any challenge, with it. I mean, you think about it from a first century perspective. When Paul leaves Titus in Crete, he tells Titus the things. He's been there 2 years, and he says, now I need you to point to things which are lacking, and he's going to give him some of our, what we would call our famous qualifications, of elders, and he's been there 2 years. We look back and we're looking at it 20 years, and we're thinking, finally we're getting some elders. But they had a little bit of different scenario in the first century, right? They had the Spirit and all the miracles and all the different things that we don't have access to now. It's based on this seed principle, right? I've got to teach men, 2 Timothy 2:2, right? Teach men who will be able to then teach other men also. The things which I commit to thee, commit thou unto faithful men who can teach others also, I think is the King James Version.
And they're doing a good job with that in Arusha. Right now, in Tanzania, or at least in the Arusha, Moshi areas, there are no missionaries. And in Arusha, things are going good. The school's running smoothly. The Bible school there is going smoothly. But there's also part of the work that my dad started was in Moshi, which is on the east side of Arusha, about an hour away. And this one man by the name of Josephat, he's been there, and he needs some help. He needs encouragement. The church is struggling right there. It's still there. There's about 25, 30 people there, but there's over 200,000 people that live in Moshi, and so there's a lot of potential there. The Bible school's there also, and the numbers there have gone down a little, so we'd like to get that school back and stronger than it has been in the past.
So that's your goal, right?
Yeah, to work in Moshi, but also work with the Tanzania Missions that's been there 20 years also. But my main focus will definitely be in Moshi with the school and build up that congregation. And then hopefully within a couple of years, look at planting some new churches in the Moshi area. Because being a third world country, people can't just go to church if it's 15, 20 miles down the road. It's a big deal for traveling. So you need to plant smaller congregations.
Right. They're 100 years where we were today.
Right.
So is this Josephat on there? I guess.
Yeah, that's Josephat and his wife, and then one of his kids. He has a couple more kids. I think they're in school.
And then you and
Jessica, my wife.
your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, we went on a survey trip in October, and it was just me and my wife. It's too expensive to take your whole family to Tanzania, so unless you're going to stay.
Right.
And so we went for a 3-week campaign or survey trip to get a good feel of where we wanted to work. I mean, we had an idea we wanted to go to Moshi after talking to some people, but we spent most of our time in Arusha, and then we spent some time with Josephat in Moshi and got a feel for what's been needed. And so Moshi, really, there's a lot of potential there, and we could do a lot of good things there and a lot of growth.
Yeah. So what the reason for we got you on the podcast today is there's lots of things that need to go on for this work, and we want to help you raise awareness, and because like it or not, it takes funds to fund missionaries, and so we want to get a little bit about you. We know quite a bit about you, but we want our listeners to know, and also we want to give you a platform as well to where it is kind of hard during a pandemic, to get around to different churches and then to get time to speak. Some churches aren't meeting on Sunday night, and some are, and a lot of times I know growing up, missionaries got to speak on, on Sunday nights and that type of thing. And so you may not have the kind of platform, and some churches, may or may not want outsiders to come in right now. And so we wanted to give Noel a platform to where he can, he would have to be able to give to people to help raise awareness about the work. And so currently right now there's no American missionaries in Tanzania. Is that right?
There's no full-time. Daniel Gaines, he's the coordinator over the Tanzania missions. He does go over there several times a year. Last year was a little different with COVID, but generally he goes over there at least 2 or 3 times a year to make sure things are being run smoothly. And so we do hope to be in Tanzania probably around the very end of this year or early next year, depending on, of course, fundraising.
That's right.
Right now, we're going around the churches. We would love to go to your church, wherever you are, and introduce myself a little bit better, and to show you the work and kind of the stuff that we're going to look at today.
Absolutely. And so you guys have an eldership who's already is placing oversight over your work, correct?
Right. Hoover Church of Christ in Hoover, Alabama. March of last year, they actually took over the mission work in Tanzania. It's changed hands 2 or 3 times in the 20 years.
Sure.
But Hoover, they've, not just last year, but in the last several years, they've really been involved in the Tanzania work. So they already knew what was going on and been very involved and done a lot of good things for the work, and have sent a lot of campaigners over there in the past. And so they took over in March, and so when I went to them and talked to them, and it just made sense for them to oversee us and for us to be able to help them out also being in Tanzania. So
what you're after is an unbroken chain, right?
Right.
I mean, I've thought about this when we're I hear this all the time, and I don't know why they pick Africa, but you hear these people say something like, how can a just God send somebody to hell that's never heard the gospel? What about the poor guy in Africa, right? Some living in a tribe. And I always wonder, why don't they pick South America? Or why is it like Africa instead of Borneo or something like that? And I find it interesting that maybe it's because, Africa used to be the dark continent, right. The continent that we just didn't, there was no connection with, right? And I always think about the interesting thing about that to me is that argument falls on its face with a really in a unique scenario, because the first continent that the gospel leaves Europe and Asia to go into is Africa, with the eunuch in Acts chapter 8.
Right.
And so the reason why the gospel didn't spread throughout all of the continent of Africa is because at some point there was a broken chain, right? They quit planting seeds. And so that's what you're wanting to do, is you're wanting to go back over there now. You said there's 20 years of historicity there with your daddy.
Right.
And then now you're trying to kind of push out a little bit further. And so where do you see yourself, what do you see it going to look like, or what do you see the mission life, what kind of form is it going to take on in 20 years? What are you going for?
Well, in just the short 5 years, we're just wanting to plant churches in that area, but I would love to be doing this 15, 20 years down the road and do what my dad did in Arusha, maybe in Dodoma, which is a bigger city in a different part of Tanzania. And so these first few
Is that on the Kenyan border?
Arusha and Moshi is, yes. Dodoma is more central.
More central, okay, yeah.
And so the first few years, anybody that's been a missionary knows the first 2 or 3 years you're just getting comfortable with what you're doing. And so the first 2 or 3 years you are accomplishing a lot, but you really don't start doing good for the Africans until that second, third year.
Well, the blessing for you also is that it's really a reacquaintance.
Yeah, it's especially when you deal with culture shock. I lived there for 3 years. My wife has been on mission trips to Tanzania 2 different times, and then also the survey trip we went in October. So it's not going to be brand new for us, especially me living there for 3 years and my parents. Even though I haven't lived in Tanzania since the mid-'90s, Tanzania has been part of my life for 30 years now.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost in your genetics now.
Yeah.
So this is you on the screen, right? And your family?
Yeah, I'm in the blue shirt on the top right, and then the red shirt in the middle.
And then this is your dad and your mom.
and my two brothers.
Is that Paul?
That's Paul and Jeremiah.
Paul.
And then my cousin, Ashley, she lived with us in Africa when we were there. And then that is...
Can we have these pictures, please?
Yes, we have them now forever. Just check out the shades that Paul Stafford was wearing.
I know. I mean, just he's the coolest cat, man.
Yeah. Paul's a deacon in our church in KW, and so...
Are you holding Paul in your arms in this bottom picture, too?
No, that's Bill Clinton.
Oh.
That was his name, seriously.
That was the name of the monkey?
Yeah, it's a baboon that actually one of the missionaries had. We were on the compound. That's what we named him.
Oh, that is great.
That dates it at least, right?
Yeah, that early 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to you kind of take us. I'm going to take us through the slideshow, and then you kind of help us out a little bit. So a little bit about your background. So you went to Freed-Hardeman, right?
I'm a Freed-Hardeman graduate, and I am a mission. I got my Bible degree, but with the emphasis on mission. So I did a lot of the cultural and different kind of classes that you would take if you were a missionary and dealing with different cultures. And so I got a good idea about communicating and dealing with culture and culture shock and all that. And
so this was a couple of trips you did to Thailand and Japan?
Yeah, I went for about 6 weeks in each one. I went to Japan the first year and then Thailand the second year, and really enjoyed it. And it made me realize that even though I was young, how much I could do by studying God's Word with somebody. I felt like I didn't know a lot at that time, but
that's where the
it was
transformation.
amazing how God he led me through the Bible studies that I did with these people, and I knew after that no matter what, no matter how strong I was knowledge wise, that I knew God was going to help me.
We sell ourselves short, Noel.
Oh, I'm bad about it, but
and that's the problem is that by and large, members of the Lord's church are some of the most smartest religious people in the world. And it scares us to death sometimes because of that, because we know so much, then we realize that there's so much to know, and it scares us. Yeah. And when really, when you're carrying the gospel in the world, the gospel is just what Jesus has done for the world. Mm-hmm. You don't have to give an 8-hour discourse on the manifestation of the Holy Spirit and when it ended,
Yeah, I think if you know enough Bible to be baptized and really understand why you're being baptized, you know enough to share the gospel. And
you got an obligation then, Noel.
You do. And that's important.
That's right, a responsibility. All right, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, it's not good. So this is when you were...
I was not at Freed, but I still lived in the area. But my parents had been in Tanzania for a few years at this time, and so I went with the Freed-Hardeman group, and my wife, or soon-to-be wife, just happened to be going on that campaign. So in 2002, in Tanzania is where I met my wife.
That's right. Isn't that amazing how the Lord works things out,
And we were not the only, there was two couples that came out of that missions trip. And they're married too.
So if you want to marry a Christian, go on a mission trip.
Hey, or if you want to meet a good lifelong buddy, go on a mission trip.
Yeah, that's right. Make a lot of close, I know from the Japan trip and the Bangkok trip, yeah, but maybe you get close when you're sharing the same room with somebody for 6 weeks. So.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, that's right. Or maybe a little tiny car. Go ahead.
Yeah. And we will be, even though when we live in Tanzania, one of our goals, especially going to different churches, is looking for people to do this exact thing, to come to Moshi and help us out by passing
short-term
out
campaigns.
Short couple. I wouldn't do less than a couple of weeks. It's a very long, hard trip. So I would 2 weeks minimum.
You're doing a good job selling it, Noel.
Yeah. Well, you make it worth it because of the jet lag.
Yeah. Right. You're going halfway across the world. It's not as bad as going to Asia, but it's well worth it. And I know anybody that's been to Tanzania, it changes your life forever. Yeah. I don't care if you're there for 2 weeks or 2 years.
Mission work changed mine and Chris's life for sure, and that's where we met. And so mission work holds a
special spot in our heart.
That's right. So now we'll go to the next one. So you took the survey trip.
Yeah, this was October last year, which originally was supposed to be summertime, but COVID threw a little dent in it, but we were lucky enough to get over there anyways.
And it just so happened that one of our elders, Brother Tom, was there as well during
and then that's Daniel on the right in the back.
Right there, Daniel Gaines.
He's the coordinator.
Yeah.
Then you got Charles right there on the right in the middle, and then on the left is Ahimi Diwe. They're the coordinators.
Go ahead and say that one more time.
Ahimi Diwe.
Bless you. You're good.
They're the coordinators or directors at the preacher school right now.
Okay.
And they're doing a really good job.
All right, cool.
And
I guess who's this?
That's me and Josephat. He's a preacher at the Bible school in the Moshi.
And he's translating for you? Is that what he's doing?
Oh, I thought you were translating for him.
Not quite.
So you're going to need it, but you'll need a translator while you're there too.
Yeah. So Josephat can translate for me, but more than likely I will get a translator. Hopefully he'll be either a preacher or a Christian.
And somebody that'll require some support as well, right?
Yeah, it's part of our budget when we're raising money is for me to have a translator or to pay somebody, if not a full translator, somebody that can help me translate and help them out too. So, but more than likely a full time that they can help not with just translate with me, but they can do their own.
Yeah, that'll be
Bible
great for him.
studies
You can help him learn. He can help you learn. You know,
the goal is to make Moshi Church grow, and we don't want to leave it all on Josephat or me. We want the church to grow, and it starts with getting over there and helping them out wherever we see fit. We have plans, but those things can change in time. We just want to help church grow, and we need help getting there and making it happen.
Absolutely. So on the screen we've got Tanzania. There's 54 countries in Africa, and so people can see where you guys are going to.
Yeah, we're just south of Kenya.
Yeah, so take us through like kind of where your dad did work, where the School of Preaching is, and in the
early '90s when we lived in Chamala, it's a small village, so it's not exactly on the map. But if you look on the south side, it says Mbeya. We were going to be just to the east of that, not by much. Right around there. And that's where we lived for 3 years. But now in Arusha, which is the completely opposite, it's where the preacher school is, where one of the Bible schools is, and then just east of that is Moshi, right on the border of Kenya.
So how long of a drive is it then if you go from Moshi and Arusha down here to Mbeya?
I've never done it. Probably at least 2 days.
Okay, so I'm just trying to give somebody an understanding.
Just speaking, Dar es Salaam, which it's right in the middle, right on the ocean. That's where we always flew into. When I was a kid.
Dar es Salaam.
Yeah, it was probably about 12, 15 hours of driving to Chamala.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I think it's about 8 or 10 from Arusha, which now we're lucky. When we fly into Tanzania, we can fly right into Arusha. So there's not a bunch of, maybe an hour drive. So it's a lot better than what we used to have to do. So.
Neat. So Arusha's up here, and then you guys are going to be working in Moshi and helping out some with Arusha and
in between.
And in between.
There are at least 2 congregations I'm looking at that we know of that we're going to be helping support, to encourage, to do campaigns when possible. And so that's what our goal is, to work with Moshi, but also work with some of these smaller villages until we can start planning other congregations near the Moshi area.
Gotcha. So this is just a little bit about the demographics, what's going on, the population, and...
Yeah, Arusha is a really big city. I mean, it doesn't look big on the map, but there's over 400,000 people there, and then another 300 on the outskirts of Arusha.
So it's 750,000 people.
Yeah,
it's a pretty big place.
It's a lot bigger, and then
just so we can understand, that's about a quarter of the size of Mississippi, Bob.
Yeah, right.
Everybody in Mississippi.
Now, Tanzania is probably about twice the size of the state of California landmass wise.
Twice the size, and it has, I'm just doing the numbers in my head, about 20% of the people of America in it. You said 60 million. So there's about 330 million people in America. That's about 20% of the population of America. Yeah, so probably 20% of the population of America live in California anyways.
Who knows? All right, so...
At least the crazies anyway.
That's kind of a little map you had up there.
Yeah, and then Mount Meru. The picture on the left is a picture of that's what my parents looked out at from their back porch. That picture was literally taken from their back porch.
Wow, that's cool.
beautiful sights in Tanzania, and then Kilimanjaro, like I said, is the roof of Africa. You can see, especially on a clear day, you can see that when you're in Moshi.
So that's a good reason for people to go take a trip to teach the gospel. You can catch in some good scenery.
The scenery, and then we got some more pictures of some animals. The wildlife is just crazy. I mean, pretty much any animal in Africa you can go see.
Maybe we can get people to donate money for Chris to go on a safari, and we'll let him outside the truck with the lions. Maybe we could figure that out.
No, yeah, you could pretty much. It depends which game park you go to, what animals you see sometimes, but
yeah,
it's in Arusha. That's like prime spot for going to these places. They're like right up in that area. You're really close to Serengeti, the Gorgora crater.
Look, Chris, let's see how much money we can raise. Maybe me and you can run across one of them rivers.
I wonder if you could eat one of them giraffes over there.
Giraffes?
Like, can you roast that neck? I mean,
no. If you need me to translate any for you during this podcast,
now,
giraffes. That's a giraffe.
The giraffe is the national animal, and
can you eat him? No, you still didn't answer.
You cannot kill a giraffe in Tanzania.
I bet we can.
What do you do if you hit one with your car?
Well, it's probably still going to be dangerous for you. But no,
what are you going to? You can't claim you didn't see it.
I don't know. You really can't. They're so tall.
That picture there on the right. That's what happens every day on the Unscripted podcast. 2 elephants fighting.
Or what is the one? Is that like a teenage deer working out how to do his hairstyle?
That is actually called a dick. It's the smallest antelope in the world.
So is it like a snack?
Yeah, we used to shoot them by like a dozen at a time.
I want to do that.
Because you can shoot them with just the bird shot.
Right. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
They good eating?
No, they're all right. We usually gave them to Tanzanians. We kept the bigger stuff.
Like what? The giraffes?
That bigger antelope, impala, eland, topi. Best food I ever ate over there was the warthog. That was really good. Yeah.
That's
Zebra
Pumbaa on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but don't they eat bugs? They do on Lion King.
Yeah.
I reckon just like
was a young warthog.
I reckon like hogs here, they just eat everything anyways.
Yeah. All right. So a little bit more on the wildlife. So then the people. So there's a lot of people that are over there that you already have relationships with that your family's built over the last 20 years. And so, in fact, I guess on one of these slides, tell us about the little white furry thing.
His name is Sir Bentley. That was my mom's dog when they lived in Tanzania just a few years ago. And that was Agnes. That she worked with my mom, and her husband's actually the director over at the Bible school in Arusha.
Is that him in the middle?
No, he's in a different picture. But the guy in the middle, his name is Augustine. He kind of runs things at the Bible school.
Now the Bible school.
I'm sorry, the preacher school.
So explain to us the difference in the Bible school and the preaching school.
Is there slides on that?
There's slides on both of them.
Okay,
yes.
We'll get there then.
Okay. No, at the preacher school, going back to the church and to the preacher school also being self-sufficient. What they do is they grow crops. They have broilers. They lay have chickens, and basically they're just trying to be self-sufficient. So they do the work themselves, and he's the one that's in charge of the crops and stuff all in general. And so he's the man to know when you're in Arusha. He's one of the best guys you'll ever meet.
Awesome. And so we talked a little bit about your dad. He went over and began in '98. All these goals. You worked with evangelism, and then they planted churches. And
he's one of the things my dad always talked about was he had these goals. His goal was to have 50 churches. His goal was to do whatever it is. But he realized after just 2 or 3 years, all them goals, it went above and beyond what he ever planned.
That's biblical.
And I know
the Lord gives the increase.
There's been over 150, maybe 200 churches planted in that short time. 200 preachers that have graduated from the preacher school. The preacher school, which we'll talk about in a minute, you actually get a bachelor's degree there in Bible, and it's through the Bear Valley School of Preaching and from Denver. And so, they also can get a master's degree too there if they want it. And so,
wow,
it's awesome. All right, so we'll keep rolling. So then this is Daniel Gaines. You talked about a little bit, and he takes a couple of trips over there a year.
Yeah, he does all the fundraising for the Tanzania mission work in general, and then he also does reporting about what's going on, if there's any money needing for, say, a preacher student or a building or church that needs to be
Special
built.
needs.
Yeah, any special needs he kind of puts out there. But he also needs money for the general fund for just to maintain what's going on over there for now. And
so Daniel's with Bear Valley, is that right?
he's with both.
He's with both.
He's
the
everybody. He
man.
works with Bear Valley and Hoover, which Hoover is like I said earlier. They're the ones that are overseeing our work, but they're also overseeing the whole work with the Bible schools and the.
I want to talk about the school. Let's get to the school.
The Bible school or okay, we got the preacher school. The Andrew Connolly School of Preaching. He's the man that I talked about.
So sometimes
earlier.
in our mind, those things may run together: Bible school, preaching school. So explain the difference in the two.
Obviously, the preacher school is what it is. They go to school for 2 years to get I think it's 2 years for a bachelor's in Bible, and then the Bible school.
So it's like one of our classically trained preacher schools here, like Memphis or Bear Valley, or
it's exactly the same. Yeah.
And so then they're teaching them how to prepare lessons and how to hermeneutics of the Bible and all those different things like that.
Yeah,
right?
and they also do some type of more. They try to go more into leadership because a lot of times they are the church there to get it started. They don't have leadership in the church already,
right?
And so they have to have at least an idea of it. Which there's a new school that they just are building now that they're going to be going to later on that they can get more leadership skills.
So you're saying they're giving them the fundamentals that they need, not just biblically, but how they can establish congregations and get them up and running and thriving.
Right, and hopefully be self-sufficient. The America, we try to support them at the beginning.
Yeah, but we got to be careful we don't create a welfare state.
Yeah, and it's hard. It
is
because people over there don't have money to support a preacher. I mean,
right.
just flat out. And so we have to figure out a way to make it all out.
Right.
And so the preacher has to figure that out. If it's him
Yeah,
having a vocational job, he has.
That's right.
If it's planting, if it's raising chickens, if it's whatever that is, and so that's part of what they're doing over there now, is doing that. But the Bible school, like we talked about earlier, there's one in Arusha, and then there's one in Moshi where I'm going to be. The Bible school is for everyday people. It's for the new Christians, it's for non-Christians, for anybody, and it's like up to 4 nights a week. It's always at night, so you can still work, and you can come in and you take these classes for a couple of years, and you're learning the Bible. It's just the basics. You're growing as a Christian. You're growing in knowledge of the Bible.
Yeah, but that's such
nothing
a tremendously
complicated.
It's it's an empowering thing. Are people converted with the Bible school?
Yes, there are. It is mostly new Christians, but it also is people just wanting to learn the Bible. What's this Bible you're talking about? And so there are conversions. And one of the reasons with my goals in Moshi is to take some of these people that are converted or even new Christians from the Bible schools and hopefully get them to go to the preacher school, and with the goal of coming back to Moshi to plant new churches. And so that's going to be the first things I look at least early on, is finding these men
picking through the briars.
Yeah, and who. I'm not being picky, but who would be interested?
And I just know that your dad, he always had this vision of, we're going to teach Africans to teach Africans.
That is the most successful way.
Right. Yeah. That's right. And so, but sometimes, like it or not, we need talent seekers in the church, and you are a talent seeker. You've been over
that's
there.
That's scriptural.
That's right.
I mean, that's what happened in Acts 6.
Yeah.
You remember in Acts 6 when Peter... there's this problem that arises with the Grecian widows, and Peter says, listen, choose amongst yourselves 7 men full of wisdom and full of the Holy Spirit that can do this. And they choose 7 men, Philip, Nicanor, all these ones that are Greek guys, the guys that can fill the spot for a Greek guys to fill a spot for Greek people.
That's right.
And so, Peter's not saying that somebody else is not as important, but what he's saying is there's a unique guy for a unique spot. And so that's what you're saying you want to do with the Bible school.
use that as a tool. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. That's biblical.
and they've also talked about, which I don't know how far this is going to go, but taking that Bible school that they're using at night, use it during the day to teach English, to get people to come into
This building.
come into this building.
Yeah.
And
You're just talking about using the facilities.
and use that either vocational or teach them English, something to get them in the door. And hey, you want to have a Bible study after this? Or I mean, just a way to not to just use the building at night, but utilize it and do different things.
Yeah, it's no good sitting.
Right.
That's one of the blessings of, like, here at KW. You know, our elders are like, if y'all, we need to use this building. They're just sitting here all week. We need to use it for something.
Right.
And so that's the blessing of it, is that you can see that it's just a building. We just need just like a hammer, right?
Yeah. So on this school, you talked about how they use it at night for classes. So and you said so that people could work. So I guess how is it culturally over there? Do people work at night too, or?
No, I mean, to be honest, a lot of people don't even work. I mean, it's different over there. Not necessarily everybody works. Sometimes it's just about having food for your family. It might be just tending to your garden, or not necessarily a lot. A lot of people actually work in Tanzania. I mean, being in the city, it's a little different. But in general, I couldn't tell you a percentage, but it's not like over here where everybody pretty much has a job or
can get one if they want.
Yeah, over there, there's very few actual jobs you can go out and get. It's more about just feeding your family.
So there's a Bible school in Arusha.
Yeah, it's in downtown Arusha where the Bible school is.
And then there's another Bible school in Kilimanjaro,
which is Moshi.
Is Moshi. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's where we're going to be.
All right. And so then sometimes there's these. Tell us about Safari for Souls.
Now, Safari for Souls has been going on, I think, around since 98, 2000. I went in 02, which we saw earlier. Basically, it's just a bunch of people like me, y'all. I mean, people that come over there for 6 weeks at a time.
You notice he put us in a different group.
Oh, yeah. We're different than the Staffords.
And y'all.
Yeah.
Like me and y'all.
Oh, KW has been. KW used to go.
Right.
And so people come over. Basically, it's just like doing what we used to do here. When we have a gospel meeting back, I know when I was in college, we'd go to I went to a church in Eddyville, Kentucky, and for all week we door knocked. We passed out tracts or told them about the gospel meeting, and that's kind of what people do. Campaigners do that, or you start Bible studies. Mm-hmm. And
so, how hard is it to get in a Bible study with someone in Africa?
It's easier than anything. All you gotta do is ask.
Wow,
it's amazing. I mean, over here, 9 times out of 10, people are gonna nicely shut the door. Over there, 99 times out of 100, I feel like people are going to want to talk to you. I mean, you're going to have exceptions, but over there, it's just a matter of how hard you want to work and how often you want to do it. That's how many Bible studies, I think. I mean, it's not necessarily always like that, but it's easy. It's a lot easier. People are hungry to hear about it.
Yeah, and that's man, what an awesome opportunity, and it's definitely, you and your family are going and dedicating your lives to something that, it's just amazing to see the work that's happened from years past, but also like, Jesus said the fields are white for harvest, and it's just ready, and so the Lord needs laborers, and
it's very true in Tanzania. They want to hear it, and we need people over there helping, and whatever we can do to help, and we hope to be over there by the first year to start this great work. So
awesome.
So what are you needing right now, Noel?
Right now we need prayers, most importantly, but we also need finances. We recently just started fundraising, so it's we're still early on, so we still need pretty much the gist of our finances.
When you say ours, you mean
my family,
yours and your sweet wife and your
my 4 children,
19 kids.
Feels like it. No, we have 2 different ways for people to support us. One time, we need money for plane tickets. We need money for appliances, like household appliances, startup. And then the vehicle is probably half of what we need money for. we have.
You mean the whole amount? Half of it will be for the vehicle.
But yeah,
Right.
literally half.
Right.
Plus, we have to the vehicle we have to get that I've talked to other missionaries. It's best to get it imported from Japan because that's
Why is that? Why can't y'all just buy one local?
the parts. Getting parts over there. The only thing you're going to be able to get is Toyota.
So you got to buy a Toyota from Japan,
Yeah.
but you can't buy one from the dude down the road.
You can, but it's going to be
Clapped
all
out.
messed up because the roads in Africa are horrible. Especially during rainy season. It's just like all y'all guys that like to ride in the mud and need four-wheel drive. And
You
all
know, he
that.
said y'all again.
Y'all.
Yeah, I'm fixing to be one of y'all.
Ewins. Yeah. Yeah, so you need a 4-wheel drive.
Oh, and I got 4 kids too, so it can't be just any 4-wheel drive.
Well, they can push.
They will.
Well,
You got to have 4-wheel drive. It's got to be dependable because we're only going to have one vehicle because it costs so much. And so,
yeah, so tell us, someone were to look at your budget and see like how much money it would cost for a vehicle, but kind of tell us a little bit behind that on that.
about say you got a $25,000-$30,000 vehicle. You want it to be new, but not brand new. Just, And so,
Dependable, but
Just for
so
dependability.
if you get a $25,000-$30,000 vehicle, we're looking at probably close to 12 to 15 grand in taxes and fees from the government. Not
So if
from
you buy-
Tokyo, but from Tanzania.
So if you buy a $30,000 car, you're looking at $42,000 what it's going to
Yeah.
cost you.
Yeah.
So what? Man, they stick their hand deep in the cookie jar.
And
don't
even
they?
if you bought a brand of, say, a new used vehicle that hadn't been driven in Africa in Tanzania, they still tack that on there.
Is that right?
Yeah, because we looked while we were there. It's going to be about the same.
Wow.
So I whether know something's coming from, if it's coming from Japan, I know it hadn't been driven.
Right.
Because you got to be careful about people saying something that's not necessarily true about
Right.
stuff like that.
Snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
so even if somebody can give a small amount, $10, $100, every dollar
It all
counts.
helps, definitely. Especially for the one time or the monthly. We do need monthly support too, for our work fund and our personal fund just to live off of. And so there's 2 different ways, like I said, one time or monthly. Or if you even started your one time, say recently before we move over there, that money would go towards our one time until we move over there. And so you kind of could do both if you started a monthly now, not right before we left.
Right.
So, I mean, it's quite a bit of money to get raised, but I know it's going to happen. God's going to take care of us, and we know the people.
So do you
in
have
the
a way
church.
that people can contribute, like through the monthly thing and everything
Yes,
like that?
Hoover is our overseeing congregation, so all our money will be sent to them. So if anybody ever writes checks to them, write it out to Hoover Church of Christ. But make sure to put our name in the memo, or it will go to the general fund and not us. And so you can write a check to Hoover, or they actually have a spot on their website, Hoover Church of Christ, where you can just do it through a direct deposit or check or a debit. There's a little fee on there, but then you wouldn't have to deal with writing a check, especially if you're doing it monthly. It's a little fee, but you can do a recurring thing every time, so you wouldn't have to write a check every month.
Okay.
But all the information is up here on the screen. My phone number's up there. If anybody's interested, Bob, y'all both have my phone number. If they don't get it here today, but they call anytime. I answer the phone all the time. Even I have to listen to all the warranty and stuff lately because
You don't
I
know
have a
who's
lot-
calling you.
I have not. Cause they're all calling from numbers I don't necessarily have saved.
Oh,
so
we got some ideas.
I've been getting a lot of warranty calls.
We might have to do a warranty call during the next Unscripted.
Podcast. Yeah, I know it.
Everybody like, hello?
Right. You got a giraffe warranty?
So I do, yeah, and we would love to go to. I don't care where you live. We'll come and we'll show our presentation, preach, teach Bible class, whatever's needed. But we got pretty much April full, and then May we got a couple appointments, and we're looking for congregations to go speak to.
And so you guys have already gotten some support from some congregations, is that right?
We've gotten some commitments. The money hadn't started coming in
Yeah.
yet that I know of.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
it's Hoover, so I haven't necessarily. It
Sure.
could be there, and I don't know about it. But
Right.
I've had about at least 4 or 5 definites, and then a few more. I'm pretty confident the people that
That's
will
awesome.
start.
So praise God for that and people's commitments. But so one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and we might have a couple other things. I know that we're getting on up in our time a little bit, but also like there's a leadership school as well that's being built.
Right.
Is that right?
They should be pretty much done now. I'm not exactly sure when the classes will start. I'm assuming probably towards the end of this year. It's the Stafford School of Leadership. It's something my dad really wanted to do, and just in the last couple of years, they got the money finally raised for it. And so what this school is going to do is kind of take any leaders, preachers, elders, or any leadership people all over the country. What they'll do is they'll come in to these classes. They're going to be short courses, like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, to the best of my knowledge, and just really teach these men. There's going to be some leaders in Tanzania, but also some hopefully some knowledgeable people from America that come over there and do these short courses, and really teach them what they need to do to be strong leaders in the church that they're at. What do they need to do? What do they need to expect from the congregation? Yeah. And so I haven't got all the details about exactly what they're going to be teaching yet, but I know Chuck Webster's going to be. He's over the curriculum that's going to be going on there.
Isn't he at Hoover?
Yeah, he's at Hoover.
Yeah.
Chuck's been there at Hoover for over 15 years now. He's awesome.
Been on several campaigns. And to the best of my knowledge, he's the one that's going to be over the curriculum.
That's
or
awesome.
At least getting it started.
You know, it's pretty cool. And I guess for some of our listeners, they won't know, but your dad did mission work all the way up till he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Yeah, in late 2015.
Yep, that's right.
And
then battled that for well over a year, and then passed away in January of 17.
He started chemo for leukemia on Christmas Day of 2015, mm-hmm. And then February 2017 is when he finally lost that battle. But the work in Tanzania is going great, and people are really stepping up and making sure that what he worked on for so long is continuing.
Stepping up. That's pretty interesting you used that.
That's right.
And that's why, they got
the floor paved with his name.
As soon as all this started, it really got into my heart, and I really wanted to get involved in it again. And January last year, some of that stuff that was in the way got out of the way. And so now.
So this isn't about preserving the legacy of your daddy. This is about preserving Christians for eternity.
Oh yeah, that's important, and continue that work in Tanzania.
Amen.
And so Noel, a little bit about you and your family. Like, what do you do right now?
I'm just a chicken farmer.
I love it.
My father-in-law is the preacher where I go, and I do. Usually, I'm his guy if he can't be there or if he's sick. I'm the guy that helps out. I preach when I need to be, teach Bible class, whatever needs to be done. So,
well, what I love is that, you're taking the initiative, and the Lord tells us, there's a willing mind that's acceptable to what one has, and it's amazing that the Lord needs He needs souls saved, and He needs chicken farmers, and He might need somebody on our podcast who's listening for them to go into all their world, and it's amazing that you guys are doing this, and we appreciate you so much in doing that, and so a little bit too about even during the global pandemic, like how I think that maybe there was a slide or something about how things were going 2020 and with the gospel. Is that right?
Yeah, that is one thing I wanted to cover. I wanted to show that just. Sometimes in America we feel like they can't do it without us being there, and yes, we can be helped. It's a little further up, I think.
Okay.
Not much, right there, I think.
Yeah, there it is.
This in 2020, we couldn't get over there, and so the Tanzanians, they really stepped up last year in 2020. That school kept going. There was a few weeks where they kind of stopped, but school went back. So they had 24 undergraduate students. 8 of them got their bachelor's degree in Bible, with 4 even got their master's. But the exciting part is there was 239 that were baptized last year, and 58 of those were from the students.
Amen.
58 of the students in the school. I mean,
The preacher school,
58 people were added to the Lord Church through the
preacher students.
preacher students.
Now the preacher students, if I'm not wrong, every weekend they go out and evangelize. Saturdays they always evangelize. Sundays they have a church that they go to that they.
Oh, you mean you can evangelize besides on Sunday morning?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But that's what this is. Strictly speaking, preacher students.
Yeah.
They on Saturdays they go to do Bible studies, and then Sundays they have a church that they go to that they're responsible for, or maybe even take. I think it's actually two go together, and they kind of take turns and work together. Yeah. And so that they were busy.
Compete.
Last year.
That's what Bob and I do.
I went in.
He's winning on the singing part.
But the leadership camp and the youth camp they have every year. They did normally somebody from America goes over there and gets it going, but they did it all. The leadership conference, which me and Jessica were able to attend, we were just there. We didn't actually participate in leading it, but we were there to. And the Africans, they did everything. So they're really stepping up when it comes to being leaders in the church and in the Bible school and the preacher school. So.
Amen. You know, I think about the Apostle Paul and you know those missionary journeys and it's like, well, they went and they established a lot of churches, but then, you know, he and Barnabas, they went back and they went back to strengthen the churches that were
to
there.
appoint elders.
Yeah,
remember,
that's
let's
right.
go back and visit the churches and appoint elders. I mean, they were the church without elders.
Right.
You know, let's go back and visit the churches and appoint elders. And so,
And that's another. Yeah, that's.
and so that's what they're doing is they're going back to kind of, you know, bellow it a little bit.
That's right.
You know, just stoke the fire and grow it and make it stronger.
And I talked about Daniel Gaines. That's one thing he really does. He does a good job at is when he does go to Tanzania. Every worship service, he's at a different church trying to make what's going on here. Do y'all need help? Is there something that y'all want to discuss with me? He does a good job with that. And that's another. When I'm there, I want to be. Help to the Hoover Church and to Daniel about if there's a congregation that needs to be checked in on, they might need help, but whatever that is, I want to help where I'm needed, and so.
Here am I, Lord, send me.
Exactly. That's the mentality I have. Just want to help.
Hey, Noel, we appreciate you so much. Listen, if anybody wants to reach you, they can catch you here at the information you put, or you were on Facebook. I can catch you or Jessica One on Facebook too.
Or Kilimanjaro Missions is on Facebook, where we'll be doing our updates.
All right, thank you so much.
Have a good one.
This is the Unscripted Podcast.